Hey everybody, you're listening once again to Made in Abyss Weekly with Best Guy Ever.
That's me. Hello, people.
We're
Episode
on
7.
episode, 7. What did you
There it
think of
is.
this episode, Nate? I'll let you start off, because I feel like I usually give my impressions first, and it's your turn
Okay.
now.
Well, so in general, definitely much better than last episode. You know, things happened,
Yes.
major revelations transpired. Frankly, at the end, there were some things that really seemed to possibly be a major momentum halting decision that I am kind of worried about. Things are happening that sort of make sense, but I'm a little concerned about how it's going to be how we're going to be time management wise for the rest of this season. But I mean, hey, all we can do is see. But meanwhile, the things that happened in this episode, the things we learned, the fight that happened, pretty good stuff, pretty good. And there were some bombshell revelations that we'll get into. So this was a good episode that gives me a little bit of trepidation, but
I wanted to get your impressions first, because I feel like that's the more normal reaction than what I had. Because I thought this was an okay episode overall, but it really made me readjust my whole stance on this show. I don't feel like it's the same kind of show I thought it was going in. This episode made me feel like I was watching Naruto. A lot.
I know what you mean.
Just the whole... especially because I watched Boruto a couple months ago, the first 10 episodes, and this felt a lot like Boruto, where they have to fight an older, skilled person to test their might, and then at the end it turns out, they were just a good guy, and nothing was really at stake, and we're learning that our character has a cursed destiny. And what bothered me the most, though, is the very beginning of the episode. We have the Black Whistle, the uncle guy, and he's saying I sure hope Ozen doesn't tell them this truth thing. Maybe I should have gone with them despite their protests. And I heard that and I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember them I don't remember that being on the table, that he would just go with them. First of all, why would they refuse that if he had offered it?
There's no reason to.
They probably would have just been oh, you'll take us to the bottom? Cool. Why is that a thing that's ever an option? And that really killed some of the tension for me, just knowing that they've got this really strong guy who at any point could just come down and help them.
Well, I guess it's maybe too late now, only except at the end of this episode, they're okay, we're just going to spend 10 days here doing something. We're just going to do that now. Training arc or something. I don't know what the fuck that's about. Yeah.
And then once we have, when the tension breaks on Ozen and we find out she's just testing them, and she's actually on their side, I was like, well, okay, now they've got one of the insanely powerful white whistles helping them out. Suddenly they've got people on their side. When they went down into the abyss, it was they were sneaking off. They could not tell anybody because they would be brought back to the surface. This is an unsafe thing they're not supposed to be doing, and no one's on their side, which made it scary. But now suddenly it's we got a white whistle, a black whistle, the white whistle's whole team, and they're going to have a whole training arc, and it's oh, and by the way, Rico is a reanimated corpse who may or may not even be human. So, all of the things that were really terrifying going into this have kind of subsided now. But at the same time, I have to wonder if maybe maybe it was never supposed to feel that unnerving. It's just that the rumors about the show had made it feel that way, Because, I went into this having heard people talk about how brutal and dark the manga gets, and torture porn and all that. But now I'm thinking about it, and I'm I hear stuff like this all the time, but this is no Berserk. I don't think this is ever going to be Berserk, I know
what you mean. I get the feeling that a lot of people are seriously disturbed by the whole stillborn thing, revelation that she was revived by this thing.
Because that was one of the things, this episode, when people were saying, some of our comments were oh, but when you find out what's in the white box, it's gonna be hoo hoo hoo. And I was okay, she's an undead girl. Like, that's not weird, like, as a revelation to have in this show. You know, it's cool. It's a really interesting thing.
I thought it was
think
pretty
it was
crazy.
It didn't seem like gross or dark or like, whoa! It was like, oh, yeah, that's really interesting. Like, it was just like another world building tidbit. Like, oh, that's cool. She's like a zombie, I guess. Like, it didn't fucking, you know, it didn't have the effect people were like building it up to have. And so now I'm wondering, like, how much of the shit that people say about this show is, like, actual, you know? And should I have been going into this expecting it to be, like, I don't know, the way people talk about it, I thought, like, consistently we'd be seeing, like, really dark, fucked up stuff happen. And in this episode, when Ozen's beating the shit out of the kids, like, there's a little blood, but there's never, like, a giant sense of, like, grimness to it. The fight is kind of all in...
that's not totally true. I mean, Ozen deliberately, you know, tried to set the scene as being like, I am going to murder your friend now, and, you know, and the fact that she also legitimately bloodied Rico in that exchange and knocked her out, like, that's... You know, that's some serious aggression that at the time I was like, wow, that is a lot of blood. And, you know, obviously, like... It's sort of that thing where you look at it afterward and it's like, okay, in retrospect, none of that was really, like, that bad. She didn't, like, actually murder anyone, but it was designed to unnerve us, and I was certainly concerned about how things were going to go.
I believed that she wanted to kill robot guy in Reg.
Me too.
But, like, the way the scene was staged and everything, like, it's still pretty brightly lit. The way that things are happening is, like, first of all, the animation is kind of shit in this episode. We've gotten this episode was a little cheap. There were action lines, you know, characters are getting thrown against action line backgrounds, and like it just didn't feel like a scene where someone was gonna die to me. You know, it didn't feel like a scene where like I'm supposed to be like, oh shit, this is real. This is really happening. Like he's actually gonna shoot her, and she's gonna he's gonna shoot Ozen, and she's gonna die. Or when she turned his arm around, like he's gonna take off one of Rico's limbs. Like the way the scene is happening doesn't feel that way. It's too, you know, there's not enough gravity to it. So I didn't feel that like real sense of danger that something bad was going to happen. I felt again like I was watching Naruto, you know, like
I hear what you're saying. I think we disagree somewhat on this point. I was, I think, a little bit more I don't know, I felt concerned. Yeah, I was fairly concerned. I mean, I didn't think that this was going to be the end of the road for our characters here, so in that way, of course, I knew like they would get out of it in some way, but got it. Yeah, like Ozen just like flipping sides and like being just like an ally to them. I gotta say, like I really miss. I suppose a lot of this is tied up with my expectations of what I want the series to be. But I was really hoping to see these two kids like up against this just like absolutely terrifying world that stands before them, where like everything's trying to kill them, and they only survive through like the barest skin of their fucking teeth with everything they try to do. And like Reg continually taxes himself more and more, and maybe like gets more and more fucked up as they keep going on, and like Rico has to deal with the curse more. And I'm pretty I mean, one of the things I was saying was that like I suspected that there'd be something. I mean, the farther we go, the more magical shit we learn about Rico that I feel like could be an excuse to give her superpowers later on, which I think is inevitable with this. I've been talking about like power level stuff, and as they go down further, they have to increase their power level, or it won't make any sense, or they'll just.
I mean, they're about to go training, so that's definitely going to happen, you know.
But for 10 days, like what could they possibly learn in these 10 days that are so vital?
Super intensive Ozen style training that's enough to get them through level 3 or some shit.
It's one of those. In this case, like that particular thing seems to me like it is both far too much, and also it's far too much for it to make a difference. Wait, okay, I'm fucking this up. I'm trying to quote somebody. It's like it's wasting far too much of our time to spend 10 days doing this, and it will make so little difference. 10 days of training. Yeah, maybe there will be something magical about it, but like these are literal children. They need to like spend 10 years training before they're like actually ready for this shit. So I don't know why we're wasting 10 days of our time now when we could be using those precious moments of life to just, like, you know, go further down and just advance before they fucking die.
I mean, as the scene was going on, there was like a moment, because this episode is almost entirely like this fight scene with Ozen until this big reveal at the end. Oh, she's actually just fucking with you. She's a good guy, and she was Liza's mommy and all that shit, basically. But as the scene was playing out, the moment when Reg's like getting ready to shoot her with his handgun, like it didn't seem like it was gonna happen, but I was thinking, this is like the most interesting way the episode could go, is if he like murders her, like if he did kill Ozen with his overpowered move, and then like, you know, they have to face the consequences of that. That would raise the stakes exponentially. They just killed a white whistle, you know, and they probably blew up half the station. Like, now they'd be not only having people on their back just because they're runaways, they have people on their back because they're murderers and they destroyed, like, important pieces of the structure, you know. But for it to go in completely the opposite direction, where, like, not only did nothing dark happen in that scene, but also they've got, like, a powerful comrade and, like, a whole squad of people, and I was just like, okay, I need to, like, significantly readjust my expectations of where this show's trying to go. Because, like, every episode, I'm waiting for the dark scene. I feel like I've always been... because of the way people buttered this show up, like, I thought this episode was going to have something really fucked happen. And really, it's more like we had a revelation that, well, interesting and I guess a little fucked up that she was like, oh, she's stillborn. That's creepy. You know, it's not what I am building in my head that this show's going to have. And now I think it's time for me to say, okay, this show's not going in that direction. It is not that kind of dark that people have made me believe it's going to be, you know?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people out there who have when they think dark, they just have a much more, like, they're more sensitive to it. They aren't prepared for as like they're not used to, like, Golden Age Berserk, you know, that level.
If someone
of, like,
tells me something's dark, I'm expecting Berserk or Game of Thrones. You know, like, that's what I think when I think, like, dark fantasy. I expect to see people getting fucking killed. People I like, you know?
Like, the darkest thing about this episode is the way Ozen, like, meanly describes, like, the mean things about Rico. Like, I didn't give a fuck about you, so I put you in and you came to life, and now you're just a fucking bizarre zombie. And, yes, that's mean. But, like, as we find out, like, she never really wanted to hurt any of them. It was just a fucking test. And, yeah, I'm sure it was really brutal in her mind, and it was very, you know, she really beat them up. She made them both bleed. But nobody was going to fucking die. There was no threat here.
So, yeah, I mean, and again, I don't think it's a bad episode, though. Like, if we readjust to think of this show not as this like really creepy wading into darkness of the abyss show, and instead just think of it as like, okay, this is just a cool action adventure show with a really interesting setting, then it's like, all right, well, we still got cool setting details. We learned about this zombification tube, this thing that, you know, our main character's a stillborn. That's interesting, you know. How often have you seen that?
You're not wrong about that, but, like, for me, it's very difficult to readjust my expectations once they've been set, and I really hope to get some things out of this, and doing so is a painful process. And I just, like, how many fucking series have I personally seen where, like, it's about people, like, attempting some large goal, and they, like, train, and they, like, rise to the occasion, and they power themselves up. Like, I was so ready for a journey where instead of that, they destroy themselves along the way, and they just keep losing pieces of themselves. And, like, everything about the premise, the way, like, the curse fucks you up, and you get, like, more and more personally fucked up as you go deeper. That's what I want, and that's what I expected. Like, these are children. These are not, like, fucking ninjas in the Land of Fire, just, like, trying to learn their new jutsu so they can take on, like, the next fucking ninja clan or whatever. These guys are hurtling themselves into this, like, fucking Cthulhu-like abyss where no man has ever made it to the bottom. Everyone who goes too deep gets fucked up and dies or goes insane. And, like, and not to mention, like, the setting of the world we're in, like, is clearly more fucked up and does not value human life in the way, like, your average, like, shonen series does. And there's all this, like, oh, everyone has potential. If you just work really hard, you can achieve your dreams. I want to watch these children fucking die in this pit. Yeah. That's what I want to see. I want to see them throw their lives away and the fucking thing is, love it.
The show could still turn out to be that way.
I think it could.
If it does, then it'll feel like why didn't it go there sooner? Because now we've got so much build up. Like you said, with this 10-day training camp, it's like, why are we going to have our characters train if they're eventually just going to get ripped apart? Like, why do we have to see them? We already felt it'll just lessen the tension, you know?
Yeah,
like the tension was so high that for them to get stronger would ease up on it. And hey, maybe that's the trick. Maybe that's how they get you. But I don't know, man. Like, I don't want to be constantly waiting for the gotcha that might never come, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather just get got. If it happens. I'd rather just assume the show is Naruto and then have it fucking clamp shut on me. You know, if I'm wrong.
I think that's smart. I personally, I actually do think that it's going to... okay, what I think is that I think we're currently experiencing a little bit of bad writing, a little bit of, like, treading water instead of, like, advancing. Like, I think this is, like, a little bit of an aside where we're going to do some stuff. Like, they're going to learn some skills or whatever. Yeah, go on.
Some people said about the last episode, because we complained about it being, like, insanely slow. Some of the manga readers were telling us that episode was literally one chapter. Like, they stretched it out, like, ridiculously. I don't know why they're doing that in what is apparently a 13-episode show. Like, maybe there's a specific moment that will make a good ending of the season that they're hoping to use. It's gotta be something
like that. Yeah.
But, I don't know. But, like, the last episode was boring and like, several people said it shouldn't have been that way. Like, they could have easily fit 2 chapters of the manga in that episode, and they didn't. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was also one chapter, because it felt like it, you know.
I agree. If there's one thing I've learned from my many years of watching One Piece and watching it change, like, you got to put at least 2 chapters in like a 20-minute episode if you want to feel like it's going somewhere. And, like, currently with One Piece, Toei does literally 1 chapter per episode, and it's terrible. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare.
Because they'll take as long as they can and have, like, the pans go a couple seconds after they're done talking, you know, and, like, just eking out every little second you can. And that's how episode 6 felt to me. This one wasn't as bad, but, like, the fight scene just kind of dragged on for so long, where it was, like, so much of characters just talking at each other, you know, and me being like, just, if you're gonna do it, just fucking do it. You know, are you gonna kill him, Ozen, or are you gonna chew him out for 20 more minutes? And I still hate her voice, so that didn't help.
Sure. I still like her. I don't know. I don't even know why I liked her in the first place, but
I didn't care that much for the effect where her eyes and mouth go all black. I didn't think it looked that good.
I'm not, like, in love with it or anything. I don't know. I think it's cool. I just like her in general. She's fun.
I like her, I like her outfit, her armor, like, that she puts on. And she turns into Kung Lao. That's cool.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I like that, like, we explained a little bit of why she's got superpowers, because she, like, has fucking cut herself in 120 fucking places all over her body and inserted relics into her body that give her super strength and longevity. And she's actually, like, I don't know, at least 50, probably, like, 70 or something at the very least. But, yeah. That's cool. That's a little bit fucked up in, like, a cool way that I like.
Yeah.
And it's teaching us a little bit about, like, when you go deep down, like, there's some pretty cool relics down there in the abyss that can give you, like, literal super strength and shit. I'm into it.
They even explained her fucked up hair. Like, they actually explained like, she doesn't just happen to look like a Katana Gatari character. That is what the abyss has done to her. And her method of, like, compensating for it.
I like that a lot. I think that's pretty cool. That's
like,
what
I mean.
There's
still lots of cool world building in here. So, like, when I think of it as, like, an adventure show with a cool universe, it's still a really cool universe. Like, the Abyss is still a great idea. The Curse of the Abyss is still really interesting. Like, the different ways it affects people. You know, the idea that you can use artifacts in the way she has done. Like, we don't know shit about artifacts so far, other than the, like, trinkets you sell. Now suddenly they're, like, weapons and shit. I think we'll probably see Rico get an artifact. That'll be what her power-up is that she'll find an artifact she can use to fight with.
For sure. Yeah, man. I'm just. I really hope they get a little denser with the episodes. And I'm concerned about this, like, spending too much time in one place, because I don't think it plays to the strengths of the narrative that well. I think I want to see these 2 children be destroyed on this journey. I mean, I think that's.
I wouldn't have minded 2 episodes at layer 2, but why all in like like one room a piece, you know? Like, this is an adventure series. We talked about this in episode 6 and the previous, but like just a montage is an amazing scene in this show, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to see this world. And we've seen very little of this world in the last 2 episodes, and that's been a disappointment.
I very much agree. And I was just thinking how I would love this 10-day training thing. Like, please, let that be a montage, if anything is. We do not need to see, like, much detail that happens there. Let's hope that they fucking do it. Let's hope.
By the way, at the very beginning of the episode, I had been pissed off that they had cut to the Black Whistle guy explaining shit to the 2 kids at the very start. Because, first of all, I was like, this could have fit in the last episode, and it would have taken us, you know, done anything to that episode, so anything else was happening. And also, it wouldn't be cucking me out of figuring out what's in the fucking box for the first 2 minutes of this episode, you know? Like, I wanted them to open on the reveal of the fucking box.
By the way, I just wanted to say how cool the design of the box is. I don't know, like,
neat.
It's real nice. It's got this weird, like, fucking red, goopy stuff inside that like breaks and reveals that whole I don't know, that thing was fucking dope.
What I thought was most interesting about that is that it seems like it could obviously take other shapes. Like like it takes this one particular shape, but it's like the way it moves, like it could be totally malleable. So like maybe that thing can have other uses that we'll find out about.
Maybe that thing could be some sort of transportation thing that they use to go deep down into the abyss or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Who knows? Could be any.
I feel like it's going to be important, though, because there's been a lot of discussion about that thing.
Yeah. When the fuck are we going to meet the bunny girl who's on, like, all the advertising and the ED?
I was just thinking, that's probably just going to be, like, when they get to Layer 3. They're going to...
Is that just going to be how the show ends? Like, is that how the season's going to end, is meeting our, like, other main character? Like,
it's
far along can it be?
I'll tell you right now, though, I don't see us getting much beyond, like, maybe the start of Layer 4 by the time this series ends. That's my prediction right now.
I feel like there's going to be some kind of arc for the last few episodes, you know? Like, how this was kind of a little arc here, this last 2.5, so I feel like there's going to be maybe another 1 or 2 arcs that round out the season, and we'll end on something relatively climactic. And hopefully there'll just be a second season announcement at the end of the show. But
if there isn't, God, will that be a fucking disappointment. Though I guess it'll give me an excuse to just read the whole manga.
If there's no second season of this, I would probably, even if there is, I'd be tempted to just go read the manga, just because, again,
that's kind of how I'm feeling too.
If the show stays as slow as these last 2 episodes have been, I'm like, well, at this point, it's not like when it started. I was thinking, like, well, I would never read the manga of this. The show's fucking beautiful. Like, why would I ever do that? But now I'm starting to be like, all right, I could just put on the soundtrack and read the manga, you know?
Yeah, I'm sad to say that's how I'm feeling, too. I generally prefer reading manga to watching anime.
People
and, like,
tell me the
really
artwork is glorious of the manga, so...
Yeah. Also, there was another reference to stringing someone up naked and whipping them again this episode. That was cool. I guess that's just a thing. Oh, maybe that's how... Well, actually, I was going to say maybe that's how Liza learned, but that's not true. Maybe I guess everyone just does this. That's just like a cultural thing. That's cool.
What they do here.
I like it.
That's how you punish kids.
And I was glad to see, just in general, like, they showed some human beings that weren't just, like, the 3 characters. Like, we saw other characters. Yeah. Like, they do exist. They are real in this village. So, only 3? Only 3 in this, like, quote-unquote village? But whatever, I'll take it. It's something.
And they're all her teammates, but they were hiding or something.
Yeah, they were letting her do her magic and shit. The Subterranean Bandits. Yep, there it is. All right, well, I guess that's about it. That's all I got to say about this thing. Yeah. Got some concerns.
It's an okay episode, but it really paints like the show in a different way for me. I'm just so much less worried about the characters and like more resigned to think about the world.
Yeah. I want to be haunted by their fate every fucking day. Like at the end of episode 3 was like the most magical fucking moment. God, I fucking loved it. I want it back.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever get it back though. We'll see.
We keep our hopes up. All right, everybody. See you next week.
Bye-bye.